school in Miami-Dade County that was triggered to take part in one of these turnaround options. The trigger was done by the Department of Education. And the outcry was, well, who is Tallahassee to be telling us that one of these trigger options should be done? So nothing in this bill is actually changing what those turnaround options is. All it does is shift the paradigm away from those supposed experts, which are Department of Education bureaucrats in Tallahassee, to the parent on the ground. If the parent doesn't want to trigger it, they won't trigger it. But it's the same prescription that exists right now for the turnaround of that school. And as far as the will of the people, I'll echo Representative Fitzenhagen. I can tell you that I started off by first of all appreciating everybody's effort here. I agree with Vice Chair O'Toole. I don't think anybody comes out to any of these things and they don't passionately care. I can also tell you from my background in doing land use and zoning hearings that oftentimes the people that come out are those in opposition. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody that stayed home is either agreeing with them or not. It's just it's an element of the process of how it happens. So it doesn't mean that there aren't people out there that are not in this room that are not in favor of this bill, or at least in favor of the paradigm shift of allowing the parent to have a greater say in the pre-existing turnaround options for schools. So for that reason, and for the reason that I think that the greatest element of opposition to this bill, I don't actually think is a real concern in what will actually happen as a result of this bill. I will be supporting this bill, and Representative Trujillo, you are recognized to close on the bill.
Thank you, Chair. I think out of all the comment that was been said today, one thing that struck my attention was a sentence that Representative Taylor said. His question was, who's asking for this bill and why do we need this bill? And I can tell you, based on my experience, it's for those 25 schools that are continuing to fail. Some of you know I spent almost 4 years in Miami-Dade County as a prosecutor. One school that always appeared on those arrest affidavits that these children were arrested at is Charles Drew Middle School. Charles Drew Middle School is an F school. Those children in that school are in one of two places. Either trying to get the best education they can in some of the poorest facilities and some of the most failing schools in our entire state, or they're currently incarcerated in the juvenile detention center. Unfortunately, they can't be here today. They don't have that option. The parents in that school, most of them live in a housing project called the Pork and Beans. The Pork and Beans, if any of you watch TV, it's constantly mentioned in the first 48. There's 2, 3, 4, 5 murders there every 2 months. Those parents are not coming up here. And I think I take exception with a lot of things that were said today by members of the committee, and it's turned into this war on capitalists versus public education, charter schools for private businesses that are greedy and corrupt. They're going to come and buy these parents. And these parents, according to some of the members in the audience and some of the members in this committee, are too uninformed and too uneducated to really know what they're signing. These are some of the same parents that vote for us as elected officials. And I think it's important to note that this bill has nothing to do with public versus private, with rich versus poor, with businesses and corporations versus public education. What's happening, even for those of you who are voting against this bill, what happens today if you vote against this bill? The 4 mandate turnaround options are still in place. And what are those 4 mandate turnaround options? They are private charter companies, public charter companies, redirect these children to a different school, some sort of hybrid option, or an intervention plan. That's it. And I think it's important to note who wrote a lot of this legislation and who are some of the biggest proponents of this legislation in our state and in our country. And it's staffers, high-level staffers with the Bush administration, high-level staffers with the Clinton administration, high-level staffers with the Obama administration. So if we're sitting here and it's turning into a partisan debate, I'm not sure why. Because our national leaders, as much as you agree or disagree with them, they got one thing right, and that is this policy. I think it's incumbent upon us as elected officials to listen to our hearts, to listen to our constituents, to listen to some of those people who don't have a voice. For those children in Charles Drew, for those children in A.A. Dixon, for those children in Newport Academy, for those children who are continuing to fail all across the state. For those failure factories who continue to produce these failing children and continue to bring them into a harsh and cruel world without any skills and without any education, this bill's for you. Thank you.